Welcome back. Just to recap, remember that there are four types of transformations: translation, reflection, rotation, and dilation. Today's lesson will focus on rotation. Recall that the definition of a rotation is turning an object around a center point. Recall this example from the Identifying Transformations video. We will talk about the details and the specifics in just a minute, but for now, just know that this is a 90-degree counterclockwise rotation. Let's go ahead and look at the Rotations Notes PDF that is available in the Google Classroom. A rotation, remember, is when you turn a figure around a center point. The example to the right is a rotation of 90 degrees, counterclockwise. You can have any angle of rotation, but we will only focus on a few specific angles: 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and 270 degrees. So as I've mentioned, the direction of a rotation is either counterclockwise or it could be clockwise. So let's go over the direction that a clock moves. So here's a picture of a simple clock. Typically, when the hands move in a normal fashion, from the top, they would move down to the right. That is what is called clockwise, since that is the way a clock typically moves. If we were to go backwards from the top, this would be what's called counterclockwise, or like the opposite of clockwise. This is important for knowing which rule to use when we do our rotations. So there are other ways to do rotations, but probably the easiest strategy is to use the rules. So with the rules, we have a rule for 90 degrees counterclockwise and 270 degrees clockwise. These two rotations will put your shape in the same position. The rule for 90 degrees counterclockwise and 270 degrees clockwise is x comma y changes to negative or opposite x comma y. So we have to switch the sign of the y and then switch the order of x and y. For 90 degrees clockwise and 270 degrees counterclockwise, these will also put you in the same position. The rule for this is x comma y changes to y comma negative or opposite x. So for this one, you will switch the sign of x and then switch the order of x and y. Finally, a rotation 180 degrees. It doesn't matter whether you're going clockwise or counterclockwise, you'll end up in the same position. The rule for this is x comma y changes to negative or opposite x, comma negative or opposite y. This is simply just switching the signs of x and y. They stay in the same position. Let's look at some examples. Example 1 is a rotation 180 degrees about the origin. Recall that the rule for a 180 degree rotation is negative or opposite x, comma, negative or opposite y. This means all we need to do is change the sign of the x and change the sign of the y. If it's positive, it'll become negative. If it's negative, it'll become positive. So let's go ahead and list out our points. So point G is the point -1, -1. Point H is the point -1, +4. Point I is the point -5, 2. And the point J is the point -5, -1. So let's go ahead and apply our rule. The rule again states that we need to change the sign of x, change the sign of y. So the new G will become the point 1, 1. The new H will become 1, -4. Remember, change the sign of both of them. I will become +5, -2. And the new J will become +5, +1. Next, plot these points. Once you've plotted the points, you are then going to connect the points. Once you connect the points, you should see that you have a shape that has been rotated 180 degrees. Let's look at example number 2. Example number 2 is a rotation 90 degrees counterclockwise. Recall that a 90 degrees counterclockwise rotation is the same thing as a 270-degree rotation clockwise. So on your practice or on your assessment, you may have a question that asks about 270 clockwise. You are going to follow the same process and the same rule as 90 degrees counterclockwise. Recall that the rule for a 90 degrees counterclockwise or 270 degrees clockwise is x comma y changes to negative y comma x. This means we need to switch the sign of the y and then switch the order of x and y. So let's go ahead and list our points. So point F is the point 1, 2. G is the point 3, 5. And H is the point 4, 2. So again, our rule says we have to first change the sign of y. So all of those are going to get their sign changed. And then we're going to switch the order. So 1, 2, when we switch the sign of y, becomes 1, negative 2. And then when we switch the order, it becomes negative 2, 1. For G, 3, 5, when we switch the sign of y, becomes 3, negative 5. And then we switch the order, it becomes negative 5, 3. And finally, point H, when we switch the sign of y, it becomes 4, negative 2. Then we need to switch the order, so our new H is negative 2, 4. Go now and plot these points. Once you have plotted the points and connected them, you should see that you have a rotation 90 degrees counterclockwise, which is equivalent to 1 quadrant. Let's go ahead and look at our last type of rotation, a rotation 90 degrees clockwise. Recall that a 90 degrees clockwise rotation has the same rule as a 270-degree counterclockwise rotation. So on your homework or your quiz, if you have any questions that say 270 counterclockwise, you will follow the same process as with 90 degrees clockwise. The rule for this rotation is x comma y changes to y comma negative or opposite x. So let's first start by listing the points. So point P is the point 1, negative 4. Point Q is the point 3, 1. And point R is the point 4, negative 2. Our rule says to change the sign of x, so all of these will get a sign change, and then all of the y values will stay the same, and then we'll switch the order. So 1, negative 4 is going to become negative 1, negative 4, and then when we switch it, it will become negative 4, negative 1. Q for 3, 1 will become negative 3, 1 when we change the sign of x and then switch the order. It will become 1, negative 3. And finally, R, 4, negative 2, when we switch the sign of x, will become negative 4, negative 2, and then switch the order, will become negative 2, negative 4. Your final step is going to be to plot these points and connect them. And now we have our rotated shape. Again, it is 90 degrees clockwise. Thanks for watching this lesson. You are now going to complete the rotations homework assignment on Edulastic. Remember, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask.